Hi viewers, welcome back to my channel. We're having a look at setups in this video, not all of them, just of the warm house. But here you can see the big greenhouse, which is 18 foot by 10 foot. The front end is the intermediate, the back 8 foot is the warm. And if I go around this way, there is the 8 foot by 6 foot Masdevallia and Pleurophthalid house. So you can see why I need a bigger one. But we'll go in. I'll turn you off at the moment because you don't want to see it all being moved about and me walking around. And then I'll turn it back on again when we get into the warm house. Right, we're back and we're inside the warm house. Now the back of this greenhouse is an 8 foot by 8 foot extension, which we put on there. Originally I'd bought the 10 foot by 8 foot house. It wasn't big enough. Then I bought, a couple of years later, the 8 foot by 8 foot extension. Before I did that, I wanted a separate house for Masdevallias, so bought an 8 foot by 6 foot greenhouse, with 6 foot 6 actually, for the Masdevallias and Pleurophthalids. So, as they say, the rest is history. We have what we have. I was determined it was going to be set up in such a way that it had everything I wanted. And I'd seen somebody's brand new house being set up from scratch and went to have a look at what he'd done. Then I took my husband there and said, that is what I want done. So he said, okay. I also wanted a concrete base, which I didn't have before. So before any of it could be done and we started moving greenhouses, we had to lay bases, which we did. Well, a friend did it for us. And that was 6 years ago, just after I retired. So my husband, the first year that I was retired, lost the will to live with these greenhouses. I have to say, you'll have to excuse the noise, but it's the heater that's on and I'm not turning it off because it's so cold out here. I've turned the close fan off, so hopefully we should be okay. But yeah, I wanted it lined with polycarb and I wanted the base of it lined with thermoboard, which is what they use for insulation in houses when they don't use the rolls of stuff. So that is what, and I had the thermoboard up to the eaves in this one. We have a look over there, you can see through at the back where the thermoboard comes up to. Actually, there we are, that's a better way to do it. You can see the silver and it takes it. And what there is cutouts there. That what you're looking at is a cutout for the louvers, which we open up in the summer. And that's permanent, it stays there. And we also, he also made allowances when he did the electrics for me to have a light switch. So I've now got light out here, which I didn't have before. And if we go up there, you see which way I'm going. Oh, the right way. If you have a look there, you will see the light, which looks like an ordinary strip light, but it's a sealed unit of strip light. There is the strip light. Where my finger is, that's white up there, but it's a sealed unit, it's a waterproof unit. It's not a strip light as we know it with the fluorescent lights. That unit has got in LED lights all the way through. So, and what I wish we'd done was put the electrics somewhere else, but we didn't. So they're permanently covered with plastic now. That's actually a floor runner, but it works and it's okay. We have 2 fans running out here all the time. That is a BioGreen greenhouse fan. which is much more powerful and is really, really good. And I have another one around this end. If I turn around slowly, but this is just an ordinary house fan, which will be replaced eventually, because this one is turned on and is aimed over at that wall. It's an oscillating one, so when it's on, it reaches quite an area. It just hasn't the power that that one on the ceiling has. So I've got an aluminium shelf there which has got the Rhinantheras and a couple of other things on, Vandaceous types, and a Dendrobium lowii that I'm convincing it wants to grow because it wasn't doing very well. It was only a teeny one when I got it. And then down there, again, we have a bio. No, wrong way. Under that bench, there is a hanging or a standing fan heater. It's a Phoenix one, and it's a heater or a fan. You can have it hot or cold, but I have it set up to, instead of it is on its own thermostat, but I don't use that. I have it set up to one of the bio green thermostats, which is what that runs off, and it won't go much lower than that because of the temperature that I've got it set as, but it's sitting at a nice temperature in here at the moment. What we also do, I've got two sets of hygrometer. This one is a wireless one. I've got three IROX. The main system is in the house, and I've got one of these in here in the intermediate house and in the cool house. But the other thing we use, which is the best one, is the Netatmo. It's another gadget my husband found and bought for me. More expensive to use and set up, but it's through an app on my phone, and wherever I go, whether I'm away from home or at home, I can see at any point, as long as the batteries don't run out in this unit, what is going on in the cat house. In the cat house? It's not a cat house, it's a greenhouse. So that is how we keep everything in here. What happened? Well, we just pray we don't have power cuts, because it would be a bit of a catastrophe here, because this greenhouse had lots of space, but because of things that have happened this year, it no longer has lots of space. So I've got other plants to look after as well as my own, and it's not easy. And my route around this greenhouse, as you can see, is very limited, so we have to be careful. What I don't run in here is a what's it called, a fogger, hydrofogger, because I've got a big one that is on in the summer in the front part of this house, which is the intermediate, and because this is the warm house, these can take the higher temperatures. Whilst it needs a fogger, it doesn't need it to be blasting out in here. It would be too much for it. So we have the doors open, and it gets the power from the fogger in from the big one I've got, which is much more powerful and can do both areas. But the other thing I have sitting on the shelf, but there wouldn't be room for it now, is one of the little misters, the house misters that you can have, a humidifier. I've got one of those as well, which I put out here if it needs to kick in, and that's thermostatically controlled over there. I plug the plug socket in to a plug-in thermostat. The fans are controlled on a plug-in timer, but the timer's set this time of year to keep going because of the humidity being so high in here. I don't know, did we look at that and see what the humidity was currently? So it's 71% on that one, 77% on that one. Can't look at my phone because I'm using it to film with, so I don't know what the Netatmo will be telling us. But the plain old ordinary thermostat is telling us we're on 71% humidity. and at 16 degrees centigrade. So all is good. It needs to be, because I've now got Phalaenopsis species out here, which I didn't have before. I wanted a couple of different things to do with Brexit that I hadn't tried before. So I got some of those, which are quite nice, I have to say. And there's lots of dust and speckles still on the leaves of things because of the diatomaceous earth. It does get a bit jumbled in here sometimes, but most of the time we know what's going on. Most of the time we have to keep our eyes peeled for slugs and nasty things, but it's not too bad. There's a lot of things that want doing, especially with the Vandas I brought back from Jeff's, but unless I'm going to keep them, I'm loath to do it, because you can't freely give away your potting media dish at the moment, because you don't know when you're going to get any more, and it's tricky the way things are set. Oh, wrong way. The way things are at the moment. Our supplier, who we meet at the shows, who has the business, he hasn't even got any moss on his website. I've got enough at the moment, and I've got enough bark at the moment and stuff that I want to use, but if I start repotting all these orchids which need repotting when I'm just looking after them, then I won't have enough for my stuff. I'm going to keep a couple of them, so I will repot the ones that I'm going to keep, but we've got a whole load of stuff which we never had before hanging. I've got a wire, oops, wrong way again. I've got a wire going from front to back, which takes hanging. There's hanging dendrobiums, there's hanging Vandas now. And there's a great big hanging Vanda there, that's one of Jeff's. And this other one is mine, which has got a flower on it. That's a Sulawesiense. That's a glomeratum. We've seen glomeratum. And that is a Vanda I treated myself to, a whim. Bright Pink wanted it. Haven't had a Vanda that big for I don't know how many years. Trouble is, it's down there on that terracotta pot. And if I bend down and want to walk through, I always crack my head on it. But, you know, that's the way of the world. We can't let these orchids die. We have to try and save them, because we don't know if we're going to be able to get hold of them. And Jeff had such a diverse collection. It is unbelievable. And one of the plants I'm going to keep of his, which I saw Bobby had, is this. A Cymbidiella pardalina. It's got a couple of names, I have to say. But apparently it hates being repotted. But I'll put a pop-up of the flowers because they are scrummy. And my Dendrobium Stardust Firebird is going over and losing flowers. I treated myself to this on a whim, Michael, because I've got another Nobile Dendrobium now after not having any for, God, it must be 10 years, because they just kept dying. But I've got that one now, and I bought that one because it's Unicum crossed with Yukon, and I love Unicum. And the markings are so Unicum, and I've got the Thailand Black over there, which there's flowers still opening on. Giant Vanda of Jeff's over the back, which needs to come out of its pot, because I suspect what is in that pot is dead roots, because there's so many roots growing out of the pot. I do really need to get on with that one, otherwise it's a named one as well. It's an Ascocenda crossed with Ascocentrum, so that'll be a nice one actually. Need to look up things and see what we'll get. I think I probably will keep it. Well, I will keep it if I've repotted it and put it in an open basket. So, and do it that way. But there is not much space now. And we still have problems with bush snails. They get in places, well, I don't know how they get there. Look at this. This is a small Dendrobium glomeratum which I've hung on the edge of this pot, which is Goldschmidtianum. That is all snail damage. And it's all little snail damage because of the little marks. And that deterrent, the slug deterrent, is just a waste of space. It does nothing. So you just have to catch the little devils, because the diatomaceous earth deterred the slugs, deterred the snails, but didn't do a thing for the bush snails. And everybody this year, we've never had the problem before, but everybody you talk to has had problems with these damn little things eating their flowers. And being outside my greenhouse, it's all right for indoor growers. You won't get the number of problems that we get, but it doesn't matter what you do. You wonder what things these come through, and you will get the bug problem. Mealybugs is another problem I have with these dendrobiums and my neos. And this year I'm going to get the mites and set them free in here to get rid of them naturally, and hopefully that will keep it under control. But that's all I wanted to show you for now, was what the setup was out here. And I will do each area individually. They've all been set up the same with the polycarb. It's 10mm polycarb, and it is horticultural glass. It's not the... And I wanted one when I bought it. I wanted one with the high eaves to have the stand-up room, which means you get that really, really high apex space. And the eaves going along the side... Ooh, what are you doing? Stop vibrating in my hand. Didn't like that, did it? The eaves where it goes up before the apex joins it are almost... Well, they are at head height for me. Just not the top of my head. It's about eye level for me. I loved Jeff's greenhouse when we saw it, because it was 6 foot down into the ground, and you went down into it, so he had a load of head space, and he had these pulley things set up. Mine's not big enough to set that up, but he had the space and the wherewithal to do it, so he made good use of all the automation that he could. And there, over there, before I go out, is Dendrobium chrysotoxum that's come back from Roger's house to live in mine. You can see how big it is. I don't know how he fit it. I wonder he didn't have space for it, the size it's got. I don't want to split it, but eventually I think give it another year or so and we'll be ending up taking it out of there and chopping it in half, literally. But it has got lots of nubbins everywhere. See if we can see the yellow nubbins on those spikes, canes. God, it's Sunday. But yeah, so what I will show you, just as a quickie before we go, because I love this plant. It's one of my funny ones, odd ones, and I love it. Dendrobium violacean. Look at those flowers. There's two. They sort of come up, that's one, and they open upside down like that. It's not fully open, it has to open up fully, that one. But that's starting to open. And that one has got... There's two on there. So they're a bit behind that one. I only had one last year. It was the first time it flowered last year. I bought it at Bournemouth's 60th anniversary show. So, yeah, it was good. My coffee is being made. So it's coffee and book time on a Sunday afternoon. And I will process this for you and try and do the other houses this week. There's areas that I've made in here for hanging plants. Mainly they're small ones. These are Erangus, and that one you're looking at there, the purpley one, is a Schnorchis brevicaris. There's a couple of small dendrobiums. There's Sedaras, there's all sorts. Lepanthes, we've got pleurothalids out here, we've got poroglossum, we've got Lepanthes, we've got Tolumnias, Bulbophyllums, Ornithocephalus. There's an epidendrum, the only epidendrum I possess. And we have up there an Aerangus hyaloides with flower spikes. We will have flowers on that soon. So there's lots happening in here. But I need to go in before the light goes, and I need to turn the fans back on. I forgot the other day. Came down the next morning, no fans on, not good. But as the humidity is staying down at the moment because it's so cold and it's warm in here, it's okay. But on that note, I'll leave you. Crazy world that we're living in with this virus. But we've got to come to an end soon. We've just got to. So I should just, Tony and I decided we are just going to keep doing what we're doing. He works from home, I don't work at all. So we will keep ourselves to ourselves. We can't see my daughter and her family because they live in another area, hour and a half's drive away. They're not allowed into ours, we're not allowed into theirs. I managed to see my son's family, grandchildren, Christmas Day, and I've seen them a couple of times outside of the house, but it's not the same, is it? We do Zoom things and we do Zoom quizzes, and they can talk to me when they want to, so we often have conversations with me being shown around the house and presents and all sorts of things. But there you go. We can just wait for this vaccine and say, please, please, please let us have our lives back at some point this year. By the summer would be nice. So I'll say goodbye. Thanks for watching. This is me using the gimbal without a lot of movement, but it's a lot steadier than me holding it by hand because I just inadvertently moved the phone. So stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.